Hey everybody, what's up? This is the Review Man. I'm back with another video. This week I'm not doing a South Park video because there are no new South Park episodes on tonight. But if you want to check out my other South Park videos, just go to my channel. Link is below and you'll find my other South Park videos. But since the new Saw movie is coming out, next year, what I'm going to do is I have a special list right here of Saw traps. My favorite Saw traps throughout the entire Saw series. And without further ado, let's get started. Number 10 is the rack. The rack is this trap that Jigsaw set up in order. It was part of his other dude's game. And the dude's game, it was a test of forgiveness. And one of the victims that were involved in the day the guy's son got killed was this guy. He witnessed everything, but he didn't really do much about it. And so what the dude has to do is he has to decide whether or not to sacrifice his arm, pull a key out this box, and risk his arm getting shot or shoot the guy. In the end, he ends up getting the key, and then the guy ends up dying because his arm gets twisted. The guy in the rack, his arm gets twisted around like that. His head gets twisted like that in a non-cool Exorcist type way. Yeah. So that's how we're gonna start this video off, with a guy getting his hand twisted off because this other dude won't forgive him. And we're also gonna go with Shotgun Collar at number 9 as in Saw 3. This is the guy's wife. She's the one that operated on Saw John Kramer whenever he was in the hospital. And he just was telling her that you were once my patient. I was once your patient, and now you're my patient. And Amanda, she basically hooks this collar with loaded shotgun ammo around the woman's neck, bashes in each round, and if and the collar is connected to John's heart rate, and if the heart rate gets above a certain beat, the collar goes off. And the woman, she has to stay alive long enough for her husband to complete his test of forgiveness. And John Kramer's the last test was for the guy to forgive John Kramer for being the one responsible for his son's death. And since he couldn't do that, he loses the test. He loses his wife because the whole test was for him to forgive John Kramer, but John Kramer think the test was for the woman to survive the shotgun collar, but it all led back to the husband's test of forgiveness. Number 8 is the pendulum. The pendulum isn't really a official Saw trap in my opinion. It's just Detective Hoffman trying to get revenge on the person that killed his sister by slicing him up. And the guy said that, and all the guy has to do is he has to push his hands in order for them to get crushed. And so once the hands get crushed, it just keeps on going and going, and then the guy's like, I survived, I followed the rules. And we don't find out that it's not an official Saw trap until later on in the movie, whenever Hoffman decides to, whenever Hoffman gets cornered in by Saw, and Saw's like, you know what, listen, I know that it was you that disguised the pendulum as my trap. And he said it would have been a perfect cut if you would have used tempered steel. And he's like, sincerity, how do you put this? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. which means that he wanted to cut the guy in half and make it look like a jigsaw trap. And so what Jigsaw does is he makes Hoffman his apprentice, or one of his apprentices. And yeah, that's pretty much it for number 8, which is the pendulum. We go on to number 7, the shotgun carousel. This one is about an adjustment broker, a insurance adjuster, and he has to decide on which of his 6 associates, which 2 will survive. And all the guy has to do to make sure the 2 associates survive is whenever it goes to the carousel has a shotgun pointed at it, and whenever the guy puts his hand inside the lever, it goes down, and it drills a hole in his hand, and then he has to sacrifice both of his hands to save 2 people, and he ends up saving those 2 people, but I'm guessing his hands probably hurt after this. Number 6 is the bathroom. The bathroom is basically the first official trap in the first movie. And this one, to take Dr. Gordon, he has to survive a room with this photographer that's taking blackmail pictures, that's blackmailing Jim, Dr. Gordon, I think his name is Jim or Lawrence. I forgot, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. But anyway, he has to do that then. He has to do that, and they gotta survive a whole thing with clues back and forth that if Dr. Gordon doesn't kill Adam, the guy taking the pictures, he will leave Jigsaw will leave Gordon in the room to rot. And Lawrence Gordon. And he basically tells him that you have to die. I have to get out of here, but you have to die. And so what Lawrence does is he cuts off his leg, he cuts off his foot, crawls out the room, and then in the end, Jigsaw, he's like, or John Kramer, he gets up and he tells Adam, there's a keychain in that bathtub, and there's a keychain in that bathtub to unlock the lock. And then he just slams the door and he says, game over. Pretty good Jigsaw. Alright. Number 5 is Acid Needle. Acid Needle is basically the very last trap in Saw 6. And as we know, in Saw 6, the guy, the insurance adjuster, he basically is telling everybody that based on your chances of survival, that's the type of coverage that you get. And the wife and the son are like of the guy that the insurance adjuster killed because of his health plan. The son's like really pissed off at the guy. The mother forgives the guy, and the son says, "My mother forgives you, but I don't." He pulls the lever, and these acid needles go into the guy's back, rotting the guy's back, and the guy just falls apart, and you see like all of his intestines and stuff falls out. Number 4 is Two Guys, One Saw. Two Guys, One Saw is basically like the very first trap in Saw 3D. And what they do is they have to, the girlfriend is hanging up like this on a, it's hanging up chain like this. And what the two guys have to do is they're like, she's like, "Oh baby, I love you. Oh, I love you too, baby." He's like, "He means nothing to me. She means nothing." And then they said, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Me and you are gonna work together to saw her in half." And while most of the Saw traps are private, this is a public execution. And so what they do is they just saw her like right down the middle. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then they're like, "Oh man." And then that's two guys, one saw. Let's see what the time is. 10 minutes, perfect. And this next one is See No Evil. This one is about. What is this one about? This one is about this guy. His main thing is he's impatient and he wants to save other people. But Jigsaw puts him to these rooms and tests that say you can't save everybody. Sometimes they gotta save themselves. And See No Evil is about this guy that the cop lowers into this bed, and what the guy has to do is he has to decide on what he's like in this bed, like right here, and there's like two spikes, and if the guy doesn't make a decision about what he has to do, you see one spike go into his eye like ah, and you see the other spike go into his eye like, ah, and if he doesn't make a decision about how he wants to sacrifice a body part, both spikes go into the guy's eye. His arms get ripped off, his legs get ripped off, and a bloody mess. As you can see, there's a lot of blood in Saw. And okay, number 2 is the Reverse Bear Trap 1 and the Reverse Bear Trap 2.0. Okay, the Reverse Bear Trap, the first one is about, this was Amanda's first test to sack the real, so Jigsaw can figure out whether or not she's a noble apprentice. And so what the first one is about is she's got her entire mouth wet in a bear trap, and if she doesn't get to the key over here in her cellmate's body and cut the guy open, her mouth will get ripped open. And so what she doesn't realize is that the guy that she's killing is actually alive. And so what she does is she gets like this axe, she goes, cuts the guy open, and gets the key out, unlocks it, and then she gets out of the bear trap. And then that's how Jigsaw realizes that she's an apprentice. 2.0 is really John, what is that? Barbara. Jill Kramer, that's it. That's his wife's name, Jill Kramer. It's actually her getting revenge on Detective Hoffman. And he's just got his hands is bolted as leather tethered down to the chair, and he's trying to get out. He gets his hands free, and he just busts open the door and gets the bear trap off right before he dies, right before he's about to die. And yeah, so we covered 9 gruesome traps, and we're moving on to the final trap. Now, I say the final trap for best for last. This one is basically Jigsaw's or John Kramer's first official trap, and this one is basically the guy. His name is Seth, and Seth was basically responsible for killing John Kramer's baby while he was Gideon was the baby's name, while he was in the womb. And basically how he did that was they were at the hospital, and what he did is he took the hospital door, not knowing that Jill was there, slammed it on the woman's chest, killing the baby like that. And so Jigsaw, that's what, in my opinion, that's what basically started the Jigsaw's work, was that one part. And so what he basically does is he gets the guy in some sadistic Jigsaw way, and what he does is he gets him, I think, like drugs him with like a pig mask or something. Oh yeah, there's a lot of pig masks in these movies. I think it's because it was like something had to do with Chinese New Year and the Year of the Pig or something like that. But anyway, what happened was he puts this mask, he puts this head mask on Seth. I think that was the dude's name. Yeah, Seth. And what Seth has to do is he has to risk getting cuts on his face in order to push through. And once he pushes through and opens up this little lever right here, he can survive if he's still alive. And yeah, so anyway, that was in Saw 4. Thanks for joining me, guys. I really appreciate doing these top 10 videos for you. I had to bring you something this week because there was no South Park video. And I'm thinking about doing more Banjo-Kazooie videos. So hit that like, comment, subscribe button, all that good YouTube stuff, and I'll see y'all guys in the next video. Have a good one.